2022 is shaping up to be one hell of a year for new roller coasters. Between the coasters delayed due to the pandemic and rides intended for next year, there's a gigantic lineup of quality coasters ready to satisfy all appetites. So in today's video, we will be ranking the top 25 most exciting new roller coasters opening next year. Some disclaimers before we begin though. First of all, we have to have some kind of idea of what this new roller coaster is going to be for it to be featured on this list. For that reason, rides like the B&M Wing Coaster planned for Fantasy Valley in China will not be making it. We simply do not know enough about the layout and we haven't heard anything about that project in over a year as far as I'm concerned. Secondly, this will not include any new coasters meant to open in 2020 or 2021 that we do not know the current status of. An example of this would be the Vekoma Firestorm at Ocean Flower Island in China, which was supposed to open in 21, but we haven't heard from the site in a long time. Lastly, take into account that this is all my personal opinion. The way I'll be evaluating these rankings are going to be a combination of mostly quality, but also uniqueness may play a factor. That quality won't be enough to outclass a not so unique elite coaster, but it may come up throughout the video. With that being said, I guess the final thing I have to say is this. The channel is quickly approaching 10,000 subscribers, and so if you could do me the favor of subscribing as well as liking the video to help the algorithm, that would be greatly appreciated. Anyways, let's get into the topic of today's list. These are the top 25 most anticipated new roller coasters for 2022. Number 25, Icebreaker at SeaWorld Orlando. This Premier Rides launch coaster was originally supposed to open in 2020, then 2021 when it was rescheduled, and now 2022 after further delays. It's been a long endurance test for this ride and others you'll see later on the list, but in Icebreaker's case, I'm wondering if it'll even be worth the wait. Now let me go ahead and say this right now, since I don't think anybody else will. The first half looks incredibly boring. I highly suspect that the quadruple swing launch is only there for the stats. Then the second half is what earns Icebreaker a spot, albeit a low spot, on this list. It looks like it has the potential to pack in some surprising airtime moments and good positive Gs. Icebreaker is a really good fit for this park overall, and I look forward to finally riding it when it opens in February. Number 24, Emperor at SeaWorld San Diego. Another delayed coaster in the SeaWorld chain is a B&M dive coaster with more of a focus on pacing. While it does have the restricting vest restraints of modern B&M coasters, I think the forces should outshine it. The ride runs through its inversions quite fast, and I'm especially looking forward to that 0G roll. Considering this being my home park, you could imagine that I'm about ready to ride this thing after 2 years of delays. Number 23, Dr. Diabolical's Cliffhanger at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. The second B&M dive coaster opening next year is one that seems to be a bit more unique than Emperor. For one, this will have the steepest drop on any dive coaster, featuring a beyond vertical 95-degree angle. Secondly, this will have a 0G roll similar to the one found on Emperor, which as I stated is my most anticipated element on that ride. Lastly, this coaster will have some pretty good theming according to the park. I also think that final airtime hill deserves a mention, as if it's profiled like it is in the concept art, it should really make the second half. Dr. Diabolical is an important ride for Six Flags as a company because it's shining on a new era for them. One where they're willing to focus more on quality versus quantity, hence them focusing on just a few parks next year and working with pricier manufacturers like B&M. Number 22, Palindrome at Codaland in Texas. Just an hour away, we head to Austin for what will be their first extreme roller coaster ever. Palindrome will be a small Gerstlauer infinity coaster, but I'm convinced it'll pack a damn good punch. Some of the elements found in its layout are really unique, and others look like a ton of fun. I'm really excited for this new Texan park to get that marquee attraction they've been eyeing for the past couple years. Number 21, Defiance at Glenwood Caverns Adventure Park in Colorado. What will become the highest elevated looping coaster in the world is also the park's most thrilling roller coaster yet. Defiance will have an extremely short layout, but they at least picked some of the best elements from Gerstlauer's portfolio. Plus, that setting flying through the sky at 7,100 feet should be mesmerizing to say the least. I'm really looking forward to this one. Number 20, Kanonen at Lost Island in Iowa. For the record, this is a filler name. This coaster will not actually be called Kanonen when it opens. That's simply what the ride is known as, since it originally operated at Liseberg in Sweden under that name. Since its removal though, it's been sitting in storage for years waiting to be assembled at a new home. Lost Island as a whole looks to be a very exciting new theme park, but their marquee roller coaster for the time being will be what draws in coaster enthusiasts. I think the elements on this thing look really punchy, even if they aren't on as much of a big scale. Even with it being relocated, this coaster is going to ride good as new when it opens in Iowa next year. Number 19, the Vekoma Space Warp at Oriental Heritage Hennan in China. This next-gen Vekoma coaster will be a clone of Formula at Energylandia in Poland. The ride model looks to have a fun launch, graceful inversions, and several good airtime moments. Despite this being one of the smaller new Vekoma layouts, it still packs enough of a punch to be a solid standout attraction at this new Chinese theme park. Number 18, the Intamin 10 inversion coaster at Flamingoland in the United Kingdom. Originally set to open in 2020, this relocated Intamin looper is finally scheduled to debut in 2022. This will become the country's newest roller coaster with 10 inversions, including that mesmerizing quadruple Heartline roll. Flamingoland is a park that has a lot of coasters, but not enough that are really noteworthy. At last, this new addition should bring some much needed quality to that park's coaster lineup. Number 17, the Intamin Blitz coaster at SeaWorld Abu Dhabi. Did you know SeaWorld is planning to open a new park in the Middle East? Yes, I know that's ironic since the Emirates is mostly covered in desert. While a name for this new ride has not been released, the layout has been completed for some time and I believe it's also tested, but correct me if I'm wrong on that. The ride appears to be relatively similar to Cheetah Hunt at Busch Gardens, Tampa, meaning it'll be a very popular ride without question. I look forward to hearing more about this one in the near future. Number 16, Giant Digger at Lotte's Magic Forest in South Korea. This blue fire clone will be the standout attraction for this new Korean theme park. The ride model has become increasingly popular as of late, and I'm really excited to see that. These are smooth, graceful looping coasters from what I hear, and are very successful at just about any park that builds one. I think this, plus a new mock power splash, should be enough to draw in some coaster enthusiasts to Lotte's Magic Forest. Number 15, Storm at Dubai Hills Mall in the Emirates. This ride came up out of absolute nowhere. I don't think anyone had heard a thing about it for at least over a year, so you can imagine the community's shock when the site released a video of the ride. Unfortunately, it isn't a whole lot to judge the ride off of, but we do know a couple of things. 1, its track layout has been completed. 2, it seems to be a smaller indoor version of the polar coaster design that was proposed for Orlando years ago. 3, this thing has a vertical launch that goes up at least 150 feet. Storm is nothing short of strange, especially since we know almost nothing about it. For that reason, I can't wait to learn more about it. Number 14, the Vekoma Top Gun clones at Fanta World Yunnan and Fanta Park Jiangsu in China. We saw our first 2 Vekoma Top Guns open in China last summer, and another 2 appear to be on their way. Judging by the general consensus for the 2 currently operating, its pacing is just a bit disappointing, but its layout does look great. I just find it amazing that Vekoma went from making rough and boring thrill coasters to smooth, graceful crowd pleasers like this. Top Gun is just no exception, and these should be great for these new Chinese parks. Number 13, Roaring Timbers at Sun World Nature Park in Vietnam. If you thought the aforementioned storm was spontaneous, God knows where this thing came from. GCI's newest wood coaster will debut at this new Vietnamese theme park next year. From what I know, track has been completed for this ride, and the layout looks wicked for only standing 95 feet at its max height. Vietnam seems to be an up-and-coming coaster destination between this, Wrath of Zeus, Dragon's Run, and some of the most picturesque alpine coasters out there. Number 12, Leviathan at SeaWorld in Australia. Intended to open in December 2020, Leviathan was delayed due to COVID restrictions, making things more feasible for an opening next year instead. The ride is a Gravity Group wooden coaster with a bit of a twist. The back car will have backwards facing seats, which I don't think has ever been done on a wooden coaster before. Now I'm not talking about a train being flipped around, that doesn't count. As is, the layout looks like it'll be a great time, but throw in that backwards element and suddenly SeaWorld is a must-visit park when visiting Australia. Number 11, Hot Wheels at Mattel Adventure Park in Arizona. It took 8 years for another Chance Hyper GTX to hit the parks, but it looks like we finally have a new one on the way. Relative to Lightning Run at Kentucky Kingdom, Hot Wheels looks quite a bit different. Along with having inversions, I believe this one will feature at launch as well. Those are already 2 key differences that prove the diversity of this underrated ride model. Hopefully this coaster inspires more parks to take a chance with, well, chance, because these GTX coasters look like a great time. Number 10, Wonder Woman Flight of Courage at Six Flags Magic Mountain. The successor to Jersey Devil at Six Flags Great Adventure will be a near clone with only a couple minor differences. These include a height record by 1 whole foot, and more importantly, some additional bunny hills towards the end. Nonetheless, this will probably be amongst the exact same quality of Jersey Devil, meaning it will be a very good but not elite ride. From what I've heard, the ride has some solid airtime moments but isn't paced nearly as well as RMC's other single rail coasters. Therefore, some intensity is stripped away, making it not as wild as we were expecting. Still, it is an RMC, meaning it will still be an awesome coaster nonetheless. I think this is a great fit for Magic Mountain. Number 9, the Vekoma Renegade at Fanta Animation Park in China. We've seen new Vekoma models pop up around Europe and Asia nonstop, but one of the rides that I think people should be really excited about is the Renegade model. This will seemingly be a combination of the Bermuda Blitz coaster with some RMC-inspired elements. The zero-G stall is unlike anything we've ever seen from the manufacturer and is one of the many sections I'm curious how it will ride. Along with that, it's got several good airtime moments and tight transitions that we've learned to expect from Vekoma's newest installation. This is going to be one hell of an addition to China. Number 8, Turbo Turtle Power at Nickelodeon Universe Chongqing in China. The first Nickelodeon park overseas, but nevertheless, we are getting a 3rd iteration in China. The anchoring attraction here will essentially be the Intamin equivalent to TMNT Shellraiser at Nickelodeon Universe New Jersey. This has a very similar appearance, color scheme, and layout, so I'd imagine Intamin will be drawing inspiration from that coaster. Shellraiser is an awesome ride as is, but I think it's got some flaws. If this new version can toss out the over-the-shoulder restraints and give a generally smoother ride, I think this new Chinese park has a real winner on their hands. Number 7, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind at Epcot. The longest indoor roller coaster ever built will also be one of the most expensive rides in the world. Talk about bringing an exciting first coaster to Epcot, because Disney is not holding back here. This new ride will feature Vekoma's newest spinning technology that is supposed to feed into a better dark ride experience. The dark ride coaster mix is something we've seen on Disney attractions many times before, but I have a feeling this will be one of the best examples thus far. Number 6, American Drier looping at Indiana Beach. Let's be real, after Chimera had its incident at La Feria in Mexico, I don't think any of us expected that it would ever operate again. But when all hope seemed lost, Indiana Beach decided to make a rather low-key approach by saving and restoring the ride. Now that it'll be properly maintained at its new home, Drier looping will give the same intense experience we've all drooled over, but in a much safer way, of course. I look forward to seeing how many of the trim brakes will still be in use following the accident, though if one thing's for certain, it's a treat that Indiana Beach is saving this legendary classic Schwarzkopf coaster. Number 5, Tron Light Cycle Power Run at Magic Kingdom. I don't think it's arguable that this is a strong case as Disney World's best roller coaster ever. Heck, the one in Shanghai has already been praised beyond words, so I can't wait for it to receive even more love in America. This coaster looks like a sensory overload between the futuristic theming, illusions, and coaster elements. I know for sure that this ride will make theme park fans and coaster enthusiasts alike want to book a return visit to the Magic Kingdom. I wouldn't even be surprised if this were the best ride in the entire park. Number 4, Phoenix at Fair Summerland in Denmark. Vekoma's first Wildcat model was originally supposed to debut at Magicland in Bosnia, but that project seemed to be cancelled due to COVID. Here, we have a renaissance taking place in Denmark where we'll finally see one of these coasters open to the public. And I think it's safe to say that this will be worth the wait because Phoenix looks like it has a layout designed for coaster enthusiasts. There's airtime at every corner, funky inversions, tight transitions, and some of Vekoma's best elements packed in here. With an opening date set for April 9th, you'll absolutely see me at Fair Summerland next year to check it out. Number 3, Pantheon at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. Back to the SeaWorld chain, we've got one of the most highly anticipated coasters for 2020, then 2021, and now 2022. As I said, the wait has been a long time coming, but this ride looks to pack in enough quality to make it worth it. Pantheon's second half is the most captivating for sure, as it's got a cross between massive airtime moments and low-to-the-ground speed sections. This ride is very obviously going to be the best roller coaster in this park's history, so hopefully its long-awaited opening is a success. Number 2, ArieForce 1 at Fun Spot Atlanta. This ride was so close to taking the top spot simply because I cannot believe it's happening. The small amusement chain of Fun Spot has 3 tiny parks, all but one with a signature roller coaster. In 2022, this changes forever, as they're making their biggest investment yet. This massive RMC hybrid coaster will have some of the most airtime on any coaster, the best inversions the company can offer, and a top-tier layout overall. I would be surprised if this weren't in everyone's top 10 list, maybe even top 5s once we rode it. It really looks that good, and so my hopes are that this inspires many small parks to put in these bigger investments. Sure, it'll cost quite a bit, but I think it's clear as day that this will be an incredibly successful moment for Fun Spot's history. Number 1, Iron Gwazi at Busch Gardens, Tampa. Speaking of RMC, the number 1 ride on this list is going to be the tallest and fastest hybrid coaster to date. Take it from a guy who's seen it in person, this coaster is humongous. Not only that, but I think it'll ride amazing too. The layout isn't as long as some of RMC's other massive rides, but it will pack in some of the best elements possible. Even with the outrageous delays we've had to deal with, Iron Gwazi looks so good that I don't think it'll matter in the end. Don't be surprised if this becomes one of the best roller coasters in the world. As you can see, 2022 is packing in some outrageous quality in these new coaster editions. I think it's clear that all these rides will be great, but how they rank is a whole other discussion. With that being said, I'd now like to ask you what roller coaster opening next year you are most excited to ride. Also, if you could do me the favor of liking this video and subscribing to the channel, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Bye guys.